As it turned out, the Skiffinses were moving to India for a few years to pick up on the prospective gold market. "It's a new venture for me," remarked Mr. Skiffins, "but the success I had in London has made me restless. I need something new to work on to see if I can bring it any of my famous Skiffins luck and charm." We all shared a good-natured laugh and went about introductions. Watson appeared to have gotten over his illness and had rejoined the conversation in time for the captain's introductions. "Here we have Mr. Holmes and Mr. Watson, as some of you may already know. They are quite famous in England, particularly London, for solving unsolvable crimes." Evelyn Reed seemed most interested in this revelation and asked us to relate some of our most particular solved crimes. Having a fully stocked pipe and more brandy than I usually take, Watson and I obliged the group with tales of our latest mysteries. "Of course, all of these stories are quite often the victim of exaggeration in the newspapers," I explained. "Nonsense," interjected Miss Reed. "I have heard about your case at the Baskerville estate. That was no small task. And Moriarty?" "We have our moments," I said with a wink. I was beginning to show signs of inebriation. "So what is it that brings you aboard the ship?" asked Mrs. Skiffins. "Are you trailing a dastardly individual all the way to India?" Her sarcasm and impatience were obvious, and I could not help thinking that the stories had offended her in some great way. "Vacation, actually," I replied. "I figured that it would be rather enjoyable to miss one British winter." The room erupted into polite laughter and a few hear-hears. "I see," replied Mrs. Skiffins. "Thank you for an enjoyable evening, Captain Ringgold, but I fear that I must soon retire, so that I can be refreshed enough for tomorrow." "Dearest," started Mr. Skiffins. Now, Richard," she said, "I am perfectly capable of walking back to the room on my own." We stood as she left and resumed our conversation, hearing stories of Son's latest excursions into the heart of Congo. Later that evening we said our goodbyes and departed amicably from one another. I steadied myself along the hall, while Watson steadied himself upon the opposite side, and we made our way back to our room. I flopped into my bed and dozed off to sleep. Thus far it had been the most interesting vacation. Murder. The word swirled around my head like a burgundy in my glass from the night before. 2 syllables that I had heard time and time before. Murder. Watson and I had seen the worst of the worst. Often it came down to 2 entirely different syllables. Money. Murder, Watson, Holmes, money. I would not have to worry about money for some time, but murder, there was always murder. Murder. Murder! The scream echoed down the hallway, shaking me from my slumber and into the dim vision of the electric lights. Someone was banging on the door, and Watson scrambled to open it. I was bleary-eyed, still feeling a bit desensitized, when Evelyn Reed burst into the door. Her hands were covered with odious red, and tears streaked across her reddened face. "There's been a murder," she repeated. I snapped to attention. "Keep calm, my dear, and show me where it has happened." Evelyn Reed led us around a corner and into the opposite corner, which was darker than the other halls by virtue of a few light bulbs that appeared to have burnt out. Several other occupants had opened their doors at the call of murder, and now stood gaping at us as we rushed by them. The scene was grisly. The man lay face down in the hallway with a large wound at the back of his head, and the thick, dark blood spreading around him.